Easter, everyone. Let's worship the Lord. Yes. We have come to this house together in His name to worship Him. We have come to this house together in His name to worship Him. We are
say anything. But the fact that you squeezed the hand, you're giving a testimony. Because the fact that you're still here is a blessing. With all you've been through, the enemy would have taken you out a long time ago, but you're still here. So squeeze that hand. God, it's in the name of Jesus. We need a word from you. And so it is our prayer that you speak now for your servants here in the matchless, marvelous, majestic, mighty, magnanimous name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. Amen. There is a concept in philosophy called a polemic. What polemics describes is two apparently contradictory concepts. For when they are in the same place, they seem to cancel one another out. It's a paradox. And I know that we live in a day and age where we like everything simple and straightforward. But the fact of the matter is, life is a paradox. Life is a polemic. Because the fact of the matter is, as simple as I might try to make the situations I'm going through appear, the fact of the matter is that oftentimes I can look at the same thing and see it from two different perspectives. Here, the text describes a paradox. For in the first sentence, we get a picture of the irony, the polemic, the paradoxical reality of the human condition. Follow me, if you will. Because as Peter and John are approaching the temple, it is at the eastern entrance of the site that is known as the Beautiful Gate. And beautiful it was. Reverend King, it was so beautiful that the sun, as it reflected off of the eastern gate, created a radiance that was a spectacular sight to see. For the beautiful gate, the eastern gate of the temple, was overlaid with Corinthian bronze, which meant that as the sun was rising in the east, and as people were making their way to the temple, first of all, you know that the temple is set on the mountain. And therefore, whenever you're approaching the temple, you are always heading in an upward direction. The fact of the matter is, whenever we go into worship, we ought to be going higher. I ought to be moving to a whole nother level as I enter his gates with thanksgiving and I enter his courts with praise. I'm thankful unto him and I bless his name. I know that my life has plenty of down moments. In fact, life is littered with lows. But when I go to worship, I'm always going higher. And so it is, as Peter and John were heading into worship, they were going higher. But they were also going higher, and they were approaching a gate where the sun was shining off of the Corinthian bronze of the beautiful gate. But the beautiful gate not only was overlaid with Corinthian bronze, but embedded in the beautiful gate were rubies and sapphires and jewels, so that the sun reflected not just off of bronze, but off of jewels, which gave a radiant kind of reflection that actually would captivate you with its utter beauty. It was a beautiful gate, so that you understood you were entering in to I feel sorry for anybody that takes coming to church for granted. I feel sorry for anybody that comes to church as if it's something they're doing out of habit or out of obligation or just because it's Sunday and it's what I'm supposed to do. There ought to be something that says in your spirit that when I come to the house of the Lord, I'm expecting God to reveal his glory in a real and a powerful way. I don't know what you come to do, but I came to praise the Lord. And so as I'm approaching worship, I don't wait for the preacher to preach me happy. I don't wait for the choir to sing me happy. I don't wait for the praise team to pump me up. But I already get myself ready for worship because I know that the presence of the Lord is in this place. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. But at the very same place, somebody say same place. The very same place where there is this apex of beauty, there is simultaneously the depths of brokenness. Same place. Same place where there was grandeur and glory, there is hurt and humiliation. Same place. Same place where the radiance of God's glory could be seen. It's the same place where the pain of humanity is laid before us. For at the beautiful gate, there was a man who was lame from his mother's womb. Oh, what ugliness in the place of such beauty. Why would there be glory and grimy in the same location? Why would there be beauty and brokenness in the same place? Why would there be holy and hurting in the same place? Why would there be praise and pain in the same place? Why would there be power and pity in the same place? Well, I've come to suggest to you that that is a portrait of the human condition. For the fact of the matter is, in the same Scott AME Zion Church, when you show up, there is both glory and grimy. There is both holy and hurting. There is both praise and pain. And the problem with contemporary cotton candy, superficial Christianity is that we want to name it, claim it, blab it, grab it, too anointed to be disappointed, and not realize that in the same place where you're going to have power, you are going to also have pain. In the same place where God's holiness is revealed, human hurt is also going to be revealed. So you stop running looking for the perfect church, because the fact of the matter is, if you find the perfect church, don't you join it, because the minute you join it, it will no longer be perfect, because the fact of the matter is, we've all sinned and come short of the glory of God, and the power of God shows up in the midst of broken people. Somebody ought to shout, I know that's right. The text suggests that beauty and brokenness exist simultaneously. And I want to suggest to you that if you see beauty, look at it, adore it, be mesmerized by it, but also look closely, because you're going to see some brokenness. And not only is that true about church, that's true about church folk. I'm not supposed to go there on a Friday night at a church dedication. But the truth of the matter is, you stop getting so impressed by folk that you think that just because they look good on the outside, that they got it all going on the inside. Because the fact of the matter is, I don't care who they are a reflection of both beauty and brokenness. If you see brokenness, keep looking, because you'll see beauty. And if you see beauty, keep looking, because you'll also see brokenness. I know girlfriend got it going on. I know girlfriend is so fine, but I'm telling you, look beyond the exterior and you will find that girlfriend is not only fine, but she's also fractured. I've come to tell you, I know brother man is a boo. I know he got it going on. I know he is a BMW, a black man worshiping and working. But I'm telling you, as fine as he is, just keep on looking, because not only is that brother fine, he is also fickle. Because the truth of the matter is, you got mess, I got mess, all God's children got some mess. But here's what I've come to tell you: anytime anybody is trying to make you feel guilty about your brokenness, you tell them, don't forget my beauty. Hey! And anytime you get arrogant about your beauty, be reminded of your brokenness. And then let them know, in the midst of beauty and brokenness, the Savior steps in. Because the Lord shows up in broken places. The Lord shows up in the midst of broken people. Y'all said I'm a Methodist bishop. You make me nervous. I don't have time tonight to do much exegetical excavation. In other words, dig down into the text. Because if I did, I want to do some exploration. And I think it's kind of important, at least, to raise the question: what caused the brother's brokenness? The fact of the matter is, this brother is now 40 years old. And you want to know, at 40 years old, how do you get in that predicament? Because brokenness can occur a number of ways. Come here, Plexical Burris. Plexical Burris was an all-star wide receiver for the New York Giants. Won the Super Bowl and was predicted to be one of the highest earning wide receivers in the NFL. Come here, Plexical Burris. Are you now even playing in the NFL? Why is it that you didn't become such a great superstar? Well, it's because I got broken. How did you get broken, Plexical Burris? Well, then during the off season, as I was celebrating how great I was, I had a gun in my pocket, and I accidentally fired the gun and injured myself, and I've never been able to make a full comeback since I have been broken. That's a self-inflicted brokenness. Now, before you are too hard on Plexical Burris, how many self-inflicted injuries have you been guilty of? How many times have you been broken? Not because somebody did it to you, but because you did it to yourself. Went someplace you had no business going, did something you had no business doing, got down with so much OPP. Did you ever find yourself having feelings that were outside of the faith, wants that were outside of God's will, desires that weren't so divine, actions that were not anointed? Oh, y'all can sit here and look holy like you wanna and act like you ain't never messed up, but the fact of the matter is, a whole lot of stuff that we're going through right now is because of choices that we made that cause self-inflicted injuries. Is there a witness in the building? About 2 weeks ago, however, there was not a Plexical Burris situation, but there was a young kid in Florida who was injured because of a drive-by. innocent, not doing anything wrong. But there was a brokenness that came because of somebody else's accident. Because of somebody else's action. I don't have time to preach it, but there are a whole lot of folk in church who are broken. And there are a whole lot of folk who have left church and they've been broken because they've been the victim of some drive-by, some mean member. I know y'all don't have that problem here at Scott A&E Zion Church, but some of the churches got mean members. They got folk that roll their eyes at folk. They got folk that when new folks show up, they judging them all the time, mad because they sitting on the glory of patria and standing during the prayer and standing during the scripture as if there's some kind of rules and regulation that everybody got to follow. Aren't you glad that they're in the house of the Lord? You so busy telling them what they can't do and where they can't sit and when they can't stand and when they can't do this, they can't do that. You ought to be glad that they're in the house of the Lord. Stop worrying about what they have on. The fact of the matter is you ought to thank God that they are in the house of the Lord. And we got some mean folk in some of our churches that will run folk away from the church just so that they can keep power and control of the situation. The devil is a liar. You are guilty of a drive-by shooting, and God will hold you accountable for injuring little ones. And this brother apparently was not broken because of a drive-by, and apparently was not broken because of a self-inflicted injury. This brother was broken because he was born that way. Somebody say born that way. And don't you know that all of us have been born with some brokenness? And that's why arrogance in church is ridiculous. That's why none of us have a right to go around and look down our noses at anybody else. Because the fact of the matter is we all got some brokenness that we've been born with. His entire life, this man has been dependent on somebody else. What does it do to a person's psyche when they have to depend on somebody else for a handout? What does it do to their spirit when they have to depend on somebody else in order to get washed, in order to get dressed, in order to get back to the temple, in order to get back home again? Dependency is a dangerous, corrosive situation. And so this man sat at a beautiful place in a terrible situation. But I've come to let you know, even though he was in a bad situation, it so happens he was in the right place. Somebody shout, I know that's right. Because this brother was at the right place at the temple, at the right time, the hour of prayer. He had the right persistence because he kept showing up every day. And finally, the Lord was going to bless his life. Now watch this. Here's what I love about this brother. This brother said, I didn't get my breakthrough the day before, nor the day before, nor the day before. Or 40 years I've been coming, and all I've been getting is handout. But here's what I've come to tell you. Don't you give up on God because he did not come when you wanted him. Because I've got news for you. If you just keep on trusting him, your breakthrough is on the way. How do you know it? Because God never comes short of his promise. And if he has not manifested yet in my life, I know it is on his agenda. And because it's on his agenda, I'm going to keep on trusting him. Is there anybody here that has enough faith to declare, I'm going to trust him even when I can't trace him? I don't know how he's going to do it. I don't know when he's going to do it. I don't know the way he's going to do it. But I know if he says it, it's going to be done. I know you like to say, God said it, I believe it, and that's settles it, but the fact of the matter is it was settled the minute he said it. And all you got to do is just trust him for what he already said. Somebody shout, I know that's right. But I want you to know that not only was this man impotent, the man was not the only one who was impotent at the temple. Impotent means without power. The man was not the only one that was impotent. The people of God showing up were impotent too. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. See, you looked at the man because he was lame. But you also ought to look at the folks showing up every day at the temple, and there was no change in the man's life. The man came to church and left church the same way that he came. So not only was he without power, the people that were showing up are without power too. When I got to the hotel, I had to iron my shirt in order to come here to church. And when I went to iron my shirt, I plugged in the iron because the fact of the matter is I don't care how good the iron is, there will be no power in the iron unless it's plugged in. And I just dropped this in to your spirit. If the church is not plugged in to the power source, you can have a big beautiful building, you can know all the laws of the AME Zion Church, you can know the discipline inside and out, you can have a great pastor, you can have a magnificent choir, you can have an awesome musician and drummer and keyboard player and bass player, but the fact of the matter is you got a form of godliness, but you deny the power thereof. You got to be plugged in to the source, because it's the source that gives you your strength. Is there a witness in the building? But let me tell you what happened to me. My wife was FaceTiming our grandson, and so I stopped ironing my shirt because my grandson was on FaceTime. So I went over to the bed where my wife was on FaceTime, and I started talking to my grandson. I was saying, hey, Kelly, how's it going? Kelly, Papa, and we talking on FaceTime, having a good time on FaceTime. But then, after I got through talking with Kevin, I went back to start pressing my shirt again. But as I was pressing my shirt, water started coming out. I said, what's wrong that the water is coming out? I checked and it was plugged in. So it still was connected to the source. But the problem was, as I touched it, it had become cold. And the reason it had become cold is because of the auto shut-off. Because if it becomes still too long, it loses its power. I figured, mic check, 1, 2, 3. No, y'all don't get mad at me. I'm just talking about an iron. There's some folk that have been plugged into the source, but they've been so still so long, so cold so long, so dry so long, they won't give God no praise. They won't open their mouth and bless his name. They've been doing what they always been doing so long that they've been cold now and they have no power. You know what I had to do? I had to shake it up. But as I shaked it, it started to heat up. I came all the way to Scott tonight to shake some things up. Is there a witness in the building? We gotta shake up some trustees, shake up some stewards, shake up some preachers, shake up some bishops, shake up some choir members, so that the power will get back on. Somebody shout, yeah! Yeah! Put those hands together and bless his name. Peter and John started walking in to the temple, saw the lame man, and lame man was begging for some alms. I love this. Come on, I love that. Peter said, look on us.
Look on us.
Make eye contact. Now again, if I had time, I would talk about how the eyes are the windows to the spirit. I would talk about how we got just on the way over here. Stop at a stoplight. Somebody knock at the window. Can you help a brother out? Can you help a brother out? And I recognize that there are a lot of games going on. But we need, whether you give somebody something or not, I did. Whether you give somebody something or not, don't ignore their eyes. I'm not saying you always have to give, but please show that you value their humanity, because but for the grace of God, there go I. Make eye contact. Don't just turn and look at the windows on the other side. Turn the radio station. Look up at the rear view mirror. Look up at the sky like you don't see them. Turn to them. Make eye contact with them. Get to acknowledge that you're a human being. You may be down right now, but you are as much human as I am. Peter said, look at us. Brother man looked at them. And look at here. Watch what the text says. Expecting to receive a little something, something. Your life begins to change the moment you shift your expectations. Can I tell you something? If you don't expect anything, you'll get exactly what you don't expect. The problem with most folk, when they come to church, they don't expect anything new to happen. They don't expect a breakthrough to happen. They don't expect a miracle to happen. The fact of the matter is you got to shift your expectations. You ought to come expecting God to do something. I came here tonight expecting somebody's going to be healed. I came tonight expecting that somebody is going to be delivered. I came tonight expecting that somebody's not going to leave here the same way that they came. And then Peter spoke to him and said, silver and gold we don't have, money I don't have. And I know there's some prosperity preachers that want to get all deep and talk about that was kind of just theoretically he was speaking. No. Peter and John had no money. They were broke. They didn't have money. But four of the most important words in all of the Bible come out of Peter's mouth. Such as I have. And that's where I'm going to close. Will you simply turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor, such as I have. Come on, such as I have. Now lay your hand on your chest and say, such as I have. I know this is supposed to be profound and deep, but I just want to tell you, God will work a miracle in your life the moment your attitude says, such as I have. Because when you say, such as I have, you understand that God doesn't expect you to give what you don't have. But God does expect you to give what you do have. And the problem with the contemporary church is either we're so busy trying to get more that we don't use what we have, or when we're focusing in on what we don't have, we miss what we do have. Last time I'm going to ask you to preach this with me. Turn to the neighbor and say, neighbor, don't miss what you have. So Peter and John said, we don't have money, but we got something more than money. Listen, stop talking about what you don't have. There's so many people going around with a bad spirit, talking about I don't have money, and I don't have time. There are churches that talk about we don't have 1,000 members, and we don't have $1 million. walking me around Scott, and I was looking at all of the challenges that Scott faces with its building. And the fact of the matter is, you can start to have a pity party as you begin to talk about what you don't have, as much as you start talking about what you used to have. And I know Scott used to be a great church, and I praise God for that. And I know Scott used to have hundreds of members, and I praise God for that. I know that Scott had a reputation all through Wilmington of being one of the great churches in this community, and I praise God for that. But Peter and John didn't say such as I used to have, such as I used to be. Hallelujah. You stop getting hung up on what you used to be and what you used to have and who used to pastor the church and who used to be a member of the church and how the choir used to sing and how the services used to go. The devil is a liar. The past is the past, but God is the same God yesterday, today, and forevermore. Somebody shout, such as I have. I'm going to give God such as I have. If I got 10 members, I'm going to give him a 10-member praise. If I have $100 or $10, I'm going to give him $100, $10 offering. I'm going to give God what I have. Let folk get mad at me. Let folk roll their eyes at me. But this joy that I have, the world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. Somebody shout, yeah, such as I have. Peter said, what I do have is in the name of Jesus. Rise up and walk. And he took him by the right hand. In other words, he said, I'm going to make a connection with you right where you are. You don't have to come where I am. I'm going to connect where you are. Can I tell you a secret? You're so busy trying to get folk in the church. Why don't folk in the church get out of the church and connect with folk who are out of the church? You keep saying we don't have enough folk in our church. We don't have enough folk members of our church. But as I drove through Wilmington, I saw folk all down the block, all on the street. And as long as we're waiting for folk to come into the church, we'll be waiting a long time. Peter and John didn't wait for the brother to get in the church before they made a connection. They connected with him right where he was. There was a man presiding over. There was a man who was walking along. He fell in a ditch, and while he was in a ditch, several people came by, and archaeologists came by, looked down in the ditch, and said, sir, let me give you the history of ditches. An anthropologist came about, looked down in the ditch, said, let me give you a history of man's development in a ditch. An engineer came by and said, let me design a method by which you can get out of a ditch. A philosopher came by and said, philosophically speaking, which came first, you or the ditch? An activist came by and said, I believe one day you're going to get out of the ditch. A pessimist came by and said, brother, you'll never get out of the ditch. A Pharisee came by and said, what did you do to get into the ditch? A Baptist came by and said, have you been baptized under the water since you've been in the ditch? spoken in tongues since you've been in the ditch. A Methodist preacher came by, said, I see 3 points about you being in the ditch. It's deep, it's dark, and it's dangerous. But let me quote a hymn and close like a Methodist. But Jesus came by, took off his royal garb, and stepped down into the ditch, put his arms around the brother. He picked him up, turned him around, placed his feet on higher ground. Is there a witness in the building? Grab your neighbor by the hand. Say, neighbor, I love you too much. I care too much to let you stay in what you're in. Come on. Say, neighbor, let's get delivered. Neighbor, let's get our breakthrough. Neighbor, there's healing in this house.